Welcome to Cooking with Heart Foundational Class 3. We're going to talk about what's the big deal about plants. Why are we pushing plants? So I know there's a lot of confusing information out there. Sorry, I want to get this off the counter. So today is about uncovering some of the gems with plants and tofu and then we're going to wraps in a whole new way. So boring is flour tortilla wraps. So we won't even cover that. So we're going to go into some other ways. So next week, we're going to mastering mindful eating, which is I believe, one of the foundational skills for health is to be listening to your physiological hunger and also enjoying your eating. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. So, and also we're going to be making some soups. So a couple different varieties of soups there, and that will tie into this whole concept of caloric density, which is a really important concept to understand. There's no calorie counting, anything like that, but this is a concept that just makes it simpler to eat for health without getting bogged down with details. And honestly, I did part of my internship in a spa resort called La Costa Spa and Resort Spa out in San Diego area. And this is a concept that they do at those places. You know, how do they get people in a week to lose, weight and enjoy it? And, the chef, do they have some magic foods or ingredients? Or, they do have some resources we don't have here, but really a very big portion of what they're doing with their guests is caloric density. So we'll talk about that next week. And we're going to do chocolate. So next time. So yes, and I'm going to make it two different ways. So you'll have to be the judge of which one's better. And as I've shared here, one of my hacks, and you find what works for you, but I'll share what has worked for me, and you can adjust it for you, or just skip over it and find something else. But is making bulk salads that are made from more robust vegetables, and they can go for 3 or 4 days. So sometimes I'll put the dressing. I have these little containers that I'll put in the salad and separate out the salads, or sometimes I can mix the salad and be fine. Like the kale salad's fine that we did on the first day. So, but that's one thing. Next week, we'll go into the other hack that I do. So there's just, I know everybody wants things done very quickly. And so as you see, there's some ways that you can do it fairly quickly. And so next week, will be another way. Okay, so let's do a little review of the 4 principles that you must integrate in order to really make this sustainable. If you remember from the first time, does anybody remember any of them? I'll give you a clue. I'll get you started if you don't. Any of them? Remember the scientists' idea? BS. Scientists are open-minded. So just, and today you're going to put that into practice, because I'm going to guess most of you aren't using tofu 3-4 times a week. So, and that's not the goal, but I'm just saying that you're going to be open-minded today to try that out. So that was one. So, because you just never know what's going to work. And there's so many gifts, and most of my best recipes didn't go right the first time. So second thing, baby steps. And this is really hard, baby steps. The idea mentally is that you're just moving forward, and you're going to figure out things. Like I still figure out, like, when I go to Chicago, what do I do? It's not that I say no to everything, but it's like, what do I do to kind of balance things out, to kind of make sure I'm eating similar to what I'm, encouraging you to. And just, how do you do that? How do you do that when you have a crazy week? So, or when, you're tending to other people's needs the whole week? How do you actually take care of yourself? So it's, over time, you'll figure out, you'll be like, oh, that worked really well. Or what do I do with leftover of that? Or, oh, that's a good way to store that. So third thing is self-compassion. Really key. Things, you're going to be challenged. And so you can be frustrated for a second, but move on. Don't let it persist. And what's the learning? Okay. What is it that I can take away from this? How can I grow from this? Have fun. And this one's really, it's not just like, thrown in there so that you can make this like, fun. I want you to have fun, but it also makes sense for behavior change, because part of behavior change is imprinting a positive emotional memory so that it will stick. So it'll become autopilot. You want to do this, whatever you're figuring out for yourself, you want to do it for a lifetime. And so it's got to have something that you're going to enjoy. You've got to make it at some level. Doesn't mean every last bit of it is going to be enjoyable, but you've got to really, you can't have feeling like you got this big weight on your shoulders and like it's medicine, So, Mary Poppins said a spoonful of medicine with the sugar, with the sugar. That's like this. You've got to find the sugar, okay? Although we're not going to eat sugar. So, but you've got to find something to, and this isn't medicine. We can look at it in different ways. And that's the mind shift that hopefully is happening. So really, if you're not having fun, let's get with me. Okay. At some level, having fun, it just makes sense. Okay. So anybody look at the refrigerator at eye level this week? I see several nods here. Awesome. Okay. So I did get an email from somebody that said, yeah, I can see it's making a difference. That visual cue is a big thing. It's so simple that a lot of people are like, it's okay. I don't need to. Yes, guys, that works. It's built into our psychology. So awesome. I love seeing all those people. What are your learnings for this last week? Do you have anything you want to share? I know we had some. Go ahead.
Adding beans to like a salad or soup or anything adds protein and it's filling. And beans are very filling. Or if you just have a lettuce salad, I can be hungry in 15 minutes.
Yes.
Lettuce salad, throw some black beans on it. It sticks with you longer.
Yeah. So those at home there virtually, Jennifer just shared that she's been starting to add beans to her salads, that the salads, they don't stick with her if she just has the lettuce. And instead, if she adds the beans, it does add a lot of protein. Scrambled eggs. Wow. Awesome. Yes. Great. You're experimenting. So is there a bean that you tend to like?
I like black beans.
Black beans? Yeah, black beans are powerful.
Yeah.
So, and for many, those are an easy adaptation. So awesome, Jennifer. Other learnings.
Have hummus with the vegetable sticks. That's a lot.
Hummus with vegetable sticks. Awesome.
It's a lot more substantial.
Yes. So did you make hummus, Mark, or you bought it? Okay, you bought it. So you have it ready in the fridge. Do you have it together, or do you have it just near so you can see it?
2 tablespoons.
Yes.
So I can let myself have it in, and I have my container with my carrots, celery, and green peppers.
Okay, so he's got a container of the hummus in the amount, couple tablespoons that he wants to eat a day, and then the vegetables that he wants to eat ready to go. So that's like, before the day's over, you're gonna be through that. So awesome.
I still have some left. I got a little hummus at the end.
Yeah. But and it sounds like you're paying attention somewhat to your hunger, which we'll talk about next week. So awesome. And you'll find that when you do have those vegetables, it takes a little off your hunger. So, because it's got that fiber in there in the water. So we'll talk more next week.
A lot of times when I grab it, I'm hungry, just I want to have some.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
the nice thing to have.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So Mark's saying he has the munchies and wants something. So he has those ready. So he's grabbing them and it's working.
I also have a 1/4 cup of nuts that I keep for the day too.
Okay. Yeah. So he measures out a 1/4 cup of nuts and has those throughout the day. So those are things that you've established are good for you, you like, and you're giving yourself permission to eat as you have the desire. So awesome. Great. You're listening and figuring and playing around. Love it. So other sharings? We have any from home? Virtual? Feel free to send them through or take yourself off mute there. So, okay.
Yeah, Sharon.
Yes.
We went on a road trip for 2 days and I packed vegetables mean, it was just, you know, mushrooms.
Something
And
one time.
just something to munch on in the car. You know how when you're driving, you
Yes.
just munch and it's like,
Yes.
okay, and then stop for gas at Quick Start. And he's like, oh, I want some crunch in the chips. No, I got celery in the car. I got, you know, whatever. And then I had two little things of dressing in case we wanted to dip, but we didn't even dip. I mean, it's, you know.
Wow, wow, wow. So Kelly went on a road trip and she packed ahead. You thought ahead.
Mhm.
So that's part of awareness, planning ahead, getting in that habit of planning ahead, that you get the munchies, which is very common on a long trip. I always have to have something. So they had that instead of going Quick Start, and they had dressing, she said, and they didn't really need it. So, but great, awesome. So these are great learning. So, and please know, guys, learning sometimes are the gifts of things not going the way you expect. So just, be ready for that. So, okay. So you are doing this class. I just want to remind you at this point in the class that you're doing this to bring you something. So I want you to reflect on, are you moving that direction? Do you feel like you're bringing that into your life? So I know we talk about cholesterol and weight loss and things like that, and that's good because that will make you healthier, make you feel better and all that. But I also want you to think, what really am I doing this for? So that I can have more energy, so I can do what? So I can play with the grandkids, I can travel more, I can spend more time with my husband, do those trips that I've wanted to do. I don't know, but you've got to start dreaming big, guys, that this is what you want to bring yourself. So, and get excited about it. So, and committed to it. And that's a big step. I can see many of you are committed to it. And committed is something that happens irregardless of motivation. Commitment happens sometimes when you're excited, and sometimes commitment is like, I know I need to do this because this is something I want in my life. I'm not feeling just the best place right now, but I'm going to do it because I'm committed to making this happen in my life. So awesome. Okay, so revel, take a moment to just revel in what you're doing. Okay, let's get going with the slides for today to talk about plants, because there's some really cool things about plants I want to make sure that we cover. Please cooperate. There we go. Somewhere here. There we go. There's my point. Okay, what's the big deal about plants? So even in this high-tech age, the low-tech plant continues to be key to nutrition and health. So, the idea is we want these high-tech answers, and sometimes it really isn't. It's much simpler. So, okay, what does plant-focused eating mean to you? What comes to mind? What just kind of goes up to the top of your brain?
Well, the majority of what we consume is a plant. It's not meat, it's not processed food, it's comes from the earth.
Yes. Diane, you were?
I was gonna say, cutting out meats and.
Yeah.
That's different too.
Uh-huh.
It's a good opportunity to learn new things about foods, because, if you want to change how you eat, that's kind of research that you can for a whole day, and learn about them, learn how to prepare them, how to love them, lots of learn.
Yeah. So Mark's sharing that it's a lot to learn, that it's about exploring and understanding these plants so that we're eating. So awesome. Okay. So now this you have in your first week of classes, you have this healthy eating plate. And I like this. It's not as pretty as many of the kind of tools out there, education tools, but I use this all the time because it really is profound. It's simple and profound. So what is the biggest food group there? Vegetables, okay? And then vegetables combined with what group is half the plate? Fruit, yeah. So fruits and vegetables, half, just think that. So, and then a quarter whole grains, and we talked a little bit about being intact with Mother Nature, all three layers, the bran, the germ, and the endosperm. And then quality proteins. And so that can be a mixture of plant and animal, all plant. I would say I wouldn't make it all animal, but so for optimal health. So notice what food group that you probably grew up with is not on there. Meat. starch, and moo. Dairy. That was a very sad cow. Dairy, yes. Okay. I'm not against dairy, but I don't know that it requires its own food group. So what this is, it's meant to be something that you think of over several days. Okay, so over 3 or 4 days, is this how you're eating? So on the weekends, some people are able to get close to this, and some people, they're not so close to this. So then during the week, they'll kind of balance it out. And that's where, like, you know, when I go to Chicago, I don't like let loose, but I know that, you know, the nice meal that we eat out is probably going to be deficient in vegetables. So of course I can, you know, take home and only eat certain things, but still most likely sometimes, you know, my daughter is aware of my preference for, and so some restaurants are really pretty cool how they are. But this is a balance. This is over several days. So that's where it really is helpful when you travel. Like Kelly said, you know, sometimes it's a little tougher. So you're going to make it up before you leave, after you get back, or maybe you will find a way during, and you'll feel great on the trip. So, okay. Now, plant-focused diet can come in different fashions. You'll see these terms, and I put these terms up there just because we're talking about a plant-focused diet, and most of these embrace plant-focused. There's not one that you need. I'm going to like hone you in on being. All of these can be super healthy. Okay. And you can go between a couple if you want to. These are, for some people, it's nice to label themselves as I'm vegan, I'm vegetarian, or I'm lacto-vegetarian, because that gives them boundaries and they keep to that. And that's their identity. That's fine. For me, tend to be vegan with some flexitarian. So, and you know, I mean, I occasionally have cheese, occasionally, and I definitely have fish. So, you know, I'm all over the place. So, but overall, I do eat definitely like the plate before. So again, this is just some education here. You don't have to be in any one group, but for some people, it's really helpful to identify with that group. Okay, so let's talk about plants. Let's get into it. So, so when we talk about plants and the gifts, and what I get really excited about is beyond the vitamins and minerals that we usually think of, that kind of is the bare basic nutrition kind of education. That's wonderful, and that's part of sustaining a life. But beyond that, actually plants offer a lot to help us prevent the diseases that are skyrocketing. So, and how that happens is plants have these things called phytochemicals, PHYTO, and you see nutrients there. A lot of people like the word nutrients. It's not totally correct, because nutrients are sustain life. Phytochemicals go beyond that. They help you stay healthy and prevent disease. I know the word chemical makes a lot of people nervous. It's just natural compounds in the plant. So here's what happens. A plant, think about it. A plant starts as this micro seed, and it starts, you know, amazingly grows with sunlight and water and soil, and starts to grow. But think about it, it has to figure out how to weather a lot of circumstances in order to not wither and die. So it, you know, it doesn't have legs. I know you're like, Teresa, yeah, I know it doesn't have legs. So, but think about it, it really doesn't have legs. It has to be there and go through seasons, and it has to go to blossom. So it's got, you know, downpour of rain that it has to shrink for and then blossom back for. It has, you know, sun radiation. We have sunglasses, we have sunscreen, you know, we have air conditioning that we go inside for. So pollution, think about pollution. You're worried about pollution, think about if you're a plant. So one of their natural things is chlorophyll, the green. That's a great anti-pollution protection. So they have predators that bite, you know, nip at them. I know it's very irritating if you're a gardener. So some plants that actually develop some things to ward off pests like that. And kale and all your cruciferous, that bitterness in them is actually, we think it's something that the plant has adapted to ward off pests. Because the pests, think about it, the insects bite that, a little bite, and they go, oof, no, let's find something else to eat. So it's a natural protection. And the cool thing is when we eat that small bitterness, it actually creates a kind of like a reaction, like, you know how exercise, you essentially stress the fibers of your muscle and then they grow better? Well, that's what happens. It's a reaction that happens with the bitterness in us at a very micro level. So we get better because we kind of get stung by that. So it's very cool, some of these things. So we talk about eating the rainbow. That's because there's so many antioxidants and anti-inflammatories. There's over 50 antioxidants in plants. There's over 10,000 phytochemicals in an apple, guys. Things that we haven't discovered, that we don't know how they're combining together to do amazing things. So I like to say all these wonderful properties of the phytochemicals, from the color, from the taste, the smell, all these things, they are like the police, the Coast Guard, the fire, your fire brigade, all those, your EMTs, all rolled into one. That's what they are. The defenses of the plant are those things that then we eat and we get them. We do, and they help us. So the antioxidants help those prevent oxidation, which is not a good thing. That really ages us quickly and contributes to plaque buildup and contributes to mutations for cancer. So, and dementia. So, you know, so we want a variety. That's why we talk about getting purple and red and yellow and and green. So just really wonderful, very protective. So letting color be your guide. And actually, when you do the cancer class with me, we learned that dark green actually has 3 colors in one. That dark green actually has more orange and yellow than if you're seeing an orange and yellow. It comes together to be green. You never thought about that. There's layers in there, but our eyes are picking up the green and we don't see the yellow and the orange. But they're in there in amounts larger than we can get in the yellow and the orange. Okay, so you know, all kinds of things here that they can do. Fiber, we've talked a little bit about. Fiber is pretty amazing. It does many things. They're soluble, insoluble. The soluble is known for being that gunk like oatmeal. It clings on, it kind of creates a traffic jam in our stomach, creating that gunk. So things are released slower. So our hunger goes slower. Our glucose doesn't spike as quickly. It just is released in the bloodstream slower. Then when that soluble fiber gets, because fiber we can't chop up. We don't have the enzyme. Because when things get to your stomach, they churn with your chyme and they start to chop up a little bit. Most of the chopping up and absorption happens in your small intestine, 22 feet long. And that's where things cross over to your blood barrier. So you have all this chopping up, enzymes that chop to the building blocks. Well, fiber is there to do some mechanical things, but it can't be chopped up unless you're a cow, so that you can cross it into the barrier of the blood. So it continues on. After your small intestine, you got the large intestine. And the large intestine, which you might have forgotten, has trillions of bugs, bacteria. That's good stuff. And actually your bugs feed on the fiber. Fiber is food for the bugs. So, and your bugs are 70 to 80% of your immune system, and they are actually communicating with the rest of your body. We still have a lot to unveil, and you're probably seeing in the health industry a lot about, you know, your gut and the microbiome. We are just touching the surface on that. There's some leaps that are being made. I see. We don't have tests to test for all the bugs. So how are we knowing what they're doing and everything? I don't know, but so a lot of things. And also the estrogen, testosterone, it's really good, like flaxseed really helps grab on in the large intestine and help balance out, because there's an estrogen, especially, that happens balance there, and your body gets, you cling on to it and excrete some of it there. So there's a better balancing that happens. So it's not a miracle boost, but if somebody has hot night sweats from menopause, it helps them. It's something that's highly recommended, flaxseed. So, and so, it's food for the fiber. And then, you have your insoluble fiber. And the insoluble fiber is, it's insoluble. So it doesn't make the glunk like oatmeal does. So it actually passes through, and it's a really good cleaner. It actually clings to kind of the finger-like, there's hair-like things in your small intestine and large intestine, and it goes in there and kind of cleans things out and keeps things moving so that things aren't hanging around that shouldn't be hanging around longer than they should. So it's really good for constipation, but it's also good for just keeping those sides clean of your colon. So, and keeping that muscle. That's why it moves things through, because it helps trigger the muscles. So, okay. So lots of cool things that happen there. Heart health. So there's all kinds of things that happen. The LDL in the large intestine in particular, it grabs onto bile. It also grabs onto some cholesterol that you eat, not all of it, but some of it. But you make 4 times, we learned in the first class. So, but all of this, is little bits and pieces that help you. But also in the large intestine, it grabs onto bile, and you're like, who cares about bile, Teresa? Well, I know. So bile, though, you grab onto and you excrete it. And bile, one component is cholesterol in it. So when you excrete it out, the liver detects that. And the liver is the maker of cholesterol. It's the one that makes the 4 times. And it goes, oh, shoot, we got bile we got to make. So it will grab some cholesterol from your bloodstream. So it's a really good balancer there. So it decreases your triglycerides, it manages your blood sugar. So all kinds of great things there. Okay, protein, a big myth with when we start talking about plants is doesn't have enough protein, like Jennifer said. Beans are just chock full, okay? Half a cup can be anywhere from 8 to 15 grams of protein, okay? So at a meal, you actually can't absorb more than 20 to 30 at one sitting, whether you do a shake after a workout or whether you do meal, you are not going to absorb more than 20 to 30 grams of protein, okay? Every ounce of meat has 7 grams. Your vegetables have some in there too. So you're talking max basically 3 ounces at a meal plus whatever mixed is there. If you got quinoa, you got a lot of protein there. So it's very easy to get your protein. Your edamame, like we did last week with the peanut bowl, that has lots of protein. Today, the tofu has lots of protein. So now, unless you're eating ultra processed foods, vegan, you're going to get your protein, okay? Unless you're snacking on chips. If you're getting these foods that we're talking about in this class, you're not going to be deficient in protein. Now, I do want to say also, when you get to be 70 or older, your protein needs do go up. Do they go through the roof? No, but that's where sometimes we see females that are cutting back on their eating, and we need to make sure they're getting their protein, that kind of thing. Otherwise, they're going to lose some of their muscle mass, and we know we do that over time. So, but there's some easy ways to just make a check, make sure we're getting our protein, getting enough, making sure you're getting some exercise to trigger us to keep that muscle around. So, okay, vitamins and minerals. So when we're talking vegan, vegetarian, B12 is something you do want to look at. And I take a B12 supplement. The best way is to have your blood tested. If you tell your doctor that you're eating vegan or vegetarian, they might just say, just take a supplement. So it's just cheap. It's, some doctors are not really, they're trying to limit their blood tests. So it's not something that's going to get toxic, but it's actually, there's fortified B12 products. So if you're eating fortified B12 products, you might be okay, like some yeast and things like that. But for the most part, you do want to make sure you get enough B12. If you don't get enough B12, then we see homocysteine levels go up. That's not good for heart disease, not good for dementia. So vitamin D, yes, Diane.
For supplements like if no dairy, do you recommend calcium or?
Yes and no. Okay, so tofu we're going to talk about today is a really good calcium source. So there are some good sources of calcium in the diet, and we find that when you do become vegan with what we're talking about, a more plant, whole food based diet, you absorb more calcium. So it's, again, one of those things that maybe you need to talk it over with your doctor and see. So it might be recommended, but there are ways that you may not. I'd say the top 2 are B12 and vitamin D. Okay. Vitamin D, here's the thing with vitamin D. We only have one food that's high, unless you live in Norway, in vitamin D. You know what that is? mushrooms. Okay, now I eat mushrooms almost every day, but I don't think I've eaten enough for my vitamin D. So sunlight, of course, is where we do the conversion. And you can store it up, but they've done studies looking at people that even if they live in warm environments, when they are indoors, they're not getting the sunlight and they're just not getting through the winter months usually enough. So, and that what they stored during the summer months, unless they have labor outside, is usually not enough to make it through. So, and most of, like when we live here in the winter, we aren't even far enough north to even get, even if you're outside. So vitamin D is one that's really highly recommended. Vitamin D is more than bone health. So it's, it's become a front runner here with COVID because we know it's actually very involved with the immunity balance. So vitamin D, I do take a vitamin D supplement. What I did do there is I did do a blood test. And then you can take over the counter, but I also, with my doctor, she recommended, gave me prescription to just get me to a higher level. And then now I'm doing an over the counter supplement. So that's something, again, it's not a high cost test. Talk with your doctor. I really highly recommend. About 60% of people in the US are deficient in vitamin D.
What's the difference between vitamin D and D3?
Okay, there's D2 and D3. D3, more research has been done. So you can get them in two different forms. You can get them in plant and animal form. I do recommend the D3 though, because that's where the studies have been done. So that's what we know about. So yes, so the forms of them, it's very important. Also making sure they're USP certified. USP, I forget what it stands for, but it's a certification to make sure that you're getting what you think you are in the amounts, because there is no regulation with supplements. In other words, they could fill them with like nothing, like you could get nothing that you thought you're getting. And the problem right now is there's a lot of allergens because they're being filled with things that people are allergic with, but you're just not even possibly getting what you think, because there's a lot of money to be made and there's no way that's going to change because the lobby groups are way, way, way too powerful. So it's a sad thing because supplements could be very helpful, and so you have to go with companies that are probably a little more expensive because they have the USP certification. Okay, milk. So here, milk, I just want to make a note because like calcium, Diane was speaking of, some of the milks like rice and almond, they're not very good for calcium. Soy is not either real great for soy milk, but tofu is, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Protein wise, soy is very good. Rice is lousy. Almond milk isn't too bad. So again, what are you wanting the milk for? What kind of nutrient? Just make sure you're getting that nutrient in them. And coconut milk, please. Okay, coconut milk is higher saturated fat than whole milk. So there's a lot of myths with coconut milk, and nutritionists out there will make their recipes with coconut milk. And I'm like, no, I'm not making this recipe. Now I might like a little bit because there's a really great flavor with coconut, and then coconut shredded, unsweetened coconut can add, a little bit of flavoring, a little bit, but to add a whole cup, you've got more saturated fat than whole milk, guys. So what? Yes. I mean, I go whole milk before coconut milk. So, and there actually is some research with dairy is one of those like big question marks, even if you talk to the highest researcher in the cardiovascular field. What it looks like at this point is you can't group the whole group together, that dairy milk and yogurt are probably better than things that you can incorporate for a heart healthy diet versus cheese and some of the other sources. So again, there's just a lot of confusion, and I think it's going to boil down to the fatty acids that are in them. And we're going to find dividers. We already find dividers with things like chocolate. Stearic acid is a long fatty acid. Normally that's not good, but it's pretty neutral. So, again, these are things that we're finding out, but just be careful with the milk alternatives. I see people, especially that rice milk. A lot of people become vegan, will do rice milk, and I don't want to beat up rice milk, but it really doesn't have much of value in it. Okay, so please do not feed it to kids because they're just not good. You need a lot of nutrition for their calories when you're a kid, so that you help them grow. Okay, so here's something that comes up a lot, and I just want to give you kind of the scoop on it. First of all, it makes great media to talk about Dirty Dozen, Clean 15. So keep that in mind, okay? And there is no way they're testing all the sources of strawberries out there for pesticides and then coming back and saying, you're at the top with the strawberries always come at the top. Do I eat conventional, traditional? 99% of the time I'm eating conventional strawberries because I can't afford the organic. I just look at it, I go, ooh. So, and we don't have organic in all things. Now, if this was like everything costs the same, I would look at organic, okay? There are some nutrients that are a little bit higher in your organic. Is it significant? Not even close to what we're comparing to having no vegetables versus having some, okay? The other thing is there's this thing called nitrates, and we find organic vegetables don't have as much, and that's really good for nitric oxide. So that's a big bummer. So again, I'm not against either one. Just look at your budget, eat a lot of them. So, and all of the Dirty Dozen are well below the EPA levels, okay, at all times. So, okay, so let's look at, what can we do to eat more vegetables? I'm going to share 6 strategies, and I just want you to not think about all of them. You have them in your binder, but I want you to look at, okay, which one sounds like that'd be an easy kind of just strategy. It's just a strategy. It's not anything very, detail oriented, but see which one sounds like something. First, we tend to talk about dinner as what we're having for, stroganoff, burgers, chicken nuggets. We talk about the meat versus, okay, what are we having? We're having a veggie bibimbap bowl. We're having pesto on pasta. Start thinking about the plant and having that be the delicious main thing that you're writing on the menu. So treating that and it doesn't mean you can't. I'm not trying to push off animal. I'm just trying to make it more of a side. So, okay, stock your kitchen zones with plant foods. So we talked about this, and this is one of the ways. I mean, the other day I was like, what do I want to make? Well, I had roasted veggies. I had 3 sauces. I had my, I do in a Parmesan shaker, I do crushed cashews, walnuts, onion powder, garlic powder, and a teeny bit of salt in there. And so it's like my mixture just to sprinkle on just when I want something crumbly on top and I want a little more seasoning on top. So I have all these things around. So I can easily make something if I'm stuck. And then I always have sauteed tofu. Sometimes it's marinated, sometimes it's just bland and sauteed. So I got to add something to it. So an avocado and, so it's real easy to start making something when you have those things around. I'm not saying you need to have those things specifically, but the idea is, do you have in your freezer, refrigerator, pantry, countertop, are you starting to bring into the kitchen things so that if you're stuck, you go, I could make something really fun. So that would be healthy for me. Okay, veganize your favorite dishes. So just, can you add more vegetables into the dish? Have you ever thought about that? Again, usually we have handed down recipes, recipe books from our parents, our grandparents, and they never thought about stuffing things with vegetables. I mean, they did a little bit of stretching with beans and cabbage, but for the most part, we didn't have like fruits and vegetables all year round like we do now. It was potatoes and meat and potatoes and meat. So maybe iceberg lettuce, which I'm not a big fan of. So meal prep. Okay, so focusing on meal prep, would that be, finding your sweet spot? Is it Saturday, Sunday? Is it Monday night? Is it Friday? According to your work schedule, you have a lighter day that day or a day off, or so, thinking about that. But, and start gradual. I do quite a few things now, but it has been a gradual process. And honestly, I've upped it in the last 2 years a lot. So, I mean, just the last 2 years. So, and I've been doing this for decades. So just be compassionate and start, increasing things. Can you focus on one meal being plant? Breakfast. Okay, oatmeal, frittatas, egg white omelets with veggie, so, what can you, lunch, do you want to do lunch with wraps? Today we're going to do lots of wraps with salads with beans or nuts or, there's all kinds of possibilities there. Sandwiches. So how can you start off with one meal? And maybe you want to do dinner, but just start with 3 meals a week as plant-based. So, and just, adding more plants, period. Just how can you do that? So can you add mushrooms? Mushrooms especially are great for a meaty flavor there. So adding spinach to things and just adding, I'm learning things. I've just started chopping up spinach or a romaine lettuce and putting that underneath things and just letting all the juices of whatever I'm having just soak up in them, and then I'm getting my green. So, just find what happens and works for you. Okay, so as you're looking at the action steps and thinking about it, what I want to do is I want to share with you, if you were to switch to a plant-based whole food eating, what would be the benefits that you could realize? So if you went one whole day with plant-based whole food eating, you would feel full sooner. You'd stay fuller longer. And you'd have more fiber in your eating. In 1 week, if you held it for a week, you'd be in a better mood. You'd have more energy. You would start growing more gut bacteria, a diversity there. You'd be more productive because you have more phytochemicals, you have more fiber, so more energy. And we know that whole food eating helps your mood, the hormones there. Better blood sugar levels, getting that diverse bacteria that's going to help lower body fat, better health, healthy metabolism. Within a few weeks, your cholesterol is going to start improving. Your blood pressure is going to improve. Sleep better, a lot of people, because the tryptophan that regulates the sleep hormones. And on average, people find they, without even trying, lose 4.4 pounds by just switching to plant-based. So just, I know we're taking baby steps, and I don't want to encourage you to like jump all in, but I'm just saying you're going to work your way there, and you're going to see these benefits of productivity, mood, energy. So those are great things. So, and finding a healthy weight. So, okay. So do you see action steps there? Let's see. Oh, I'm going to show you rice paper. Anybody here know rice paper? Okay. Rice paper is super cheap and fun. It's a great way. So cut up a robust vegetable. Mark looks like he's doing that. Do that green onion where you're storing the Parmesan. Anybody try that? Parmesan. Okay. Mark's tried that. Is that working pretty good? Yeah. Yeah, you got a vegetable right on hand, an onion. So try a recipe from class or prep a bulk vegetable. So awesome. Okay, so let's get over here and let me go ahead and get the camera. Oh, why did you do that? Sometimes I just hit the wrong thing sometimes. Back over here. Come over here. There we go. Room camera. You see my hands there? Okay, awesome. Okay. So we've got lots of great stuff to do today. So let me see. Okay, let's do the Colliard wraps first. So anybody play around with Colliard wraps? Okay, have you seen them at Hy-Vee or Walmart ever? Okay, so we're gonna have a lot of fun. Okay, so Colliard wraps are cruciferous, so they have a bitterness to them. So let me bring over my guys here. So okay, so here are Colliard wraps here. So they look to me like elephant ears. They can get as big as an elephant ear too. So, and they can be smaller ones. So they're very robust, kind of in that kale family of things. So just like kale, we want to get the stem broken down. And we want to just soften the colliard some so we can roll it and make a wrap out of it. So we're gonna get this going. And while that's going, why don't we go ahead and make the sauce? This is so good. So we've got tofu there. We've got, here's some, no, that's, okay, here we go. So, okay, this sauce, you see this? I made 4 times the sauce and put it in here because this is what I do at home. I have it ready to go. So we're just gonna whisk together. So I used to have hoisin in this. I don't know if you've ever tasted hoisin. It's got a very unique kind of sweet, smoky, kicky flavor to it. But it's super high in salt, like 900 plus milligrams. So I was like, oh. So I adjusted it. So this is a hoisin-like peanut sauce. So what I did is you can use molasses. I'm using honey here just because honey is what I use in a lot of recipes. But if you have molasses, molasses has a more complex flavor. So that's good to use just a little bit of that. And some chili, sweet chili paste. We're going to use sweet chili, and don't worry about like getting perfectly. You just need something. Here's the sweet Thai. You just need something that's sweet and has kicked the garlic in it. So there's all kinds of variations that you'll find at the grocery store in the Asian section, Walmart. You can go to an Asian store and you'll be overwhelmed. So, but super cheap and get big things of it there. So we're gonna have peanut butter. I just use regular peanut butter. If you have traditional, that's great. Mix it and add that. But and if you want to play around with adding the peanut butter powder, that would be great. I'm trying to keep this simple, doable for everybody. So we're gonna do smoky paprika. I love, and for this I would do smoked paprika because again we're trying to make that hoisin, which is a complex flavor. And then the coconut aminos. So we're going to use that several times today. Here it is, the coconut aminos. So that's the lower sodium one there. So we want to use that.
Where do you find that at the grocery store?
Yeah, you can't find it at Walmart, unfortunately. I wish someday they would carry it. At Hy-Vee in the health food section usually. So, and you want to make sure it's the coconut liquid aminos. There's liquid aminos, and it's not horrible if you accidentally get that because they look the same. This one's cocoa nut. It can be Bragg's or coconut. There's a brand called Coconut Secret that's got a blue label on it. That's also the same, but just make sure it's coconut. It's just a little lower sodium than the straight liquid aminos. Okay, so we've got that, and then we're going to add some water in there to thin it out because we just need to get the strong flavor in our wrap. So let me see if I have a twin. Yes. So that's going to be easiest to just whisk. Just whisk, and I usually, you can put it in the blender if you want to, but usually I just whisk it. And I can, oh, my arm is getting a workout. Like I did the other. And I did my weights today. That's my baby steps, guys. I have never, it's been the last 3 months, yay, I've been able to hold my resistance training because I've never been able to. So, and I know I need to. So, but I started really, really small, baby steps, like, okay, go, and 10 minutes is all you need to do, Teresa, just 10 minutes. Okay. So then I kept building up, and so I did a half an hour this morning, so. Okay, so there we go. There's our peanut sauce. So, and I'll have you guys can use this today. So that's really nice. So we've got scallions to go with our wraps today. We've got some mint here. Mint and basil are kind of your typical in your kind of spring rolls, kind of that you'll see at restaurants. So those are good flavoring. So I brought mint today so you can try that out. So I also did, like Mark, I bought the store-bought. You can make homemade hummus. It's not that complicated, but you have to choose what you're going to make and what you're going to buy. So this is one thing. I mean, so what's the difference going to be when we buy this in the store versus what I make at home? What are some of the bigger differences going to be? What's that? More sodium. Yes, more sodium. So I look for the lowest sodium. Okay. What else? More processed. In particular, like the oil isn't going to be extra virgin. Okay. If you're a manufacturer and you're choosing between extra virgin and the, chemically deodorized process, it's going to be a lot cheaper and it's blander. See, that's the thing people don't understand. A manufacturer likes bland. Okay. And extra virgin olive oil is not bland actually. So so those are some of the big things, but it's just going to be a little bit in that, and we're going to have all these other flavorings and the vegetables in there. So we've got our boiling water here. So what we're going to do is blanch it. We're blanching. So blanching is a great thing to understand. Blanching is used by chefs all the time for vegetables to just pre-cook them a little bit so that they just kind of dip them or just reheat them really quickly and then serve them at night. So during the day, a lot of times they'll blanch things. The reason why we blanch, a couple reasons, is to soften it up. It's going to pop the air bubbles again at the surface, so it's going to turn darker green. But also it stops the enzymes that kind of make it rot sooner, okay? And rot in a good way. This is a live thing, guys. Rotting is good when you see, because you're like, oh, that's a whole food. It's rotting, okay? Things that don't rot are scary, okay? So that we're putting in our bodies. So, okay, so we've got the big leaf here. So we're just going to cut off, some of the leaves are like this big. If you were to use the whole leaf, you'd have to roll it like 10 times. And I don't think I want that much colliard wrap when I do a colliard wrap. So it's a little much. So we've still got the spine here. Now you could take a paring knife and take that off, but that's not as exciting as this next way to break the spine. So we're just going to take our chef's knife and just lay that over the thick part right there. And then there we go. I just broke the spine. So there we go. Much easier. So then I'm going to drop that in there. 30 seconds to boiling water to do that. So, and it just a little, you just see, I only have like not even quite an inch there in the water. So you can see it's already starting to turn darker. So 30 seconds, I would be careful about like going down and doing the laundry and getting a call and getting, distracted. So you could overdo it. So, but 30 seconds is all you need there. And then ice water, cold water, just like anything else. Now, sometimes I'm really weird. I don't always have ice at home. My ice actually goes bad. It's really weird. I don't use ice. So just as cold as you can get water. If you have like a filtered water or whatever, because you got to stop the cooking. So just gonna flip that a little bit. There we go. Shake that off and put that in there. And now is where you can get distracted. Just leave it in there, okay? Because you're stopping the cooking. So that's fine. You can't really overdo it there. So you can see here for tonight, I've got them that I already did. I did them just, who was here when I was doing them? So yeah, today has been a crazy day. So, but we got them done so that everybody can have one. So, but this could be done as a bulk. You could do this for the whole week. You just need to put either a paper towel or a piece of parchment and then put it in a baggie. I've done that with like 20 and then just stuffed it in a baggie. And then you can eat it throughout the week. So let me grab here. This one's just perfect. So, okay, so we're gonna take that, but oh yeah, so we can take this off. Let's just take this off. So I'm gonna show you, here's our pretty red pepper. So cutting a red pepper, there's all different ways to do these things, but I try and share with you easy to remember ways and easy to manage ways. So I don't know why, this is the weirdest thing. For the last 2 years at this Hy-Vee I go to, they have the weirdest shaped red peppers. This is the best I've had. I've had them like curling and everything, but normally a red pepper is pretty much like a box, okay? So you can almost set it up there, but this one isn't going to. But we're going to chop off the bottom and the top. That's the first thing I do. And then we kind of set it up, and then I'm just going to cut the side there. Just cut down, straight down the side and open it up. So take top off, bottom, set it up, then slice down the side to open it up. Now what I'm going to do is instead the temptation is go like this. I'm going to get that, but instead the easiest way, honestly, is just take the knife and just take it even. Just do that. Just you're just trying to get it even across. And you're gonna take off all the stuff that you want to take off. So now we're gonna flip it over and then we're gonna get it flat. Because I'm gonna be able to go quicker and safer if it's flat. So here, these are pretty thin because I'm putting them in the wraps. I'm curling my fingers. That's what you're supposed to do. It's taking me forever to do that. So, but there we go. So we've got red pepper. So, so we've got those. So we're going to put those in there. Real quickly, we're going to do a carrot. So I have my peeler here. So I want to show you how to do part of a carrot. So let me just real quickly peel. Okay, so we're just gonna, and when you have anything like this big, don't work with it this big. That's clumsy, that's unsafe, okay? For me, about these sizes I can work with, okay? So we're gonna take, the first cut is the most dangerous. So you pay attention, you hold it tight, and just over near the edge, because these are thin, I'm doing thin matchstick, just gonna go down. And now I have a flat edge, so I'm going to use that to my advantage and roll it. So here, roll, and then I can carefully go there. So, and then for matchstick, I'm probably going to go further down here. So we've got our carrot sticks here. But see how easy that was to make? So we've got several here that we can use. So we're going to use those. So, okay, what else do we want? Oh, cucumber. So cucumber, let me real quickly peel this. So we're going to use cucumber today for the salmon sushi bowl. And we'll do that a little different, but I'm going to just show you real quickly here. So top, I'm just going to, again, what I can work with there. And same thing like the carrot. Over here on first cut, we're going to create a level edge, a flat edge, and just roll it. Now, you can stack, but don't show off and do like 5 layered there. Okay, just do something that you can, that you're safely can do. We don't want any fingers coming off. So the cucumber is nice. It adds moisture. I usually do peel it for this because it's going inside. We want that moisture. So you don't have to peel it. Okay, so we've got cucumber, pepper, and carrot. So I think we're ready to wrap. Get that out. Okay, so let's get our wrap and let's do this. So, okay, let's open our hummus. And mix that in. Now the garlic is my favorite. So I'm just going to take, and okay, we don't want to put it right along the edge. We want to just put it kind of in this area here is where we're working with it. So, because we're going to roll it. So just kind of like that. I could even go a little tighter there. So, and then we're going to put on just a couple of the strips here. And whatever you have, you can add other things too. These are just some, and you don't have to have all these, just like 2 or 3 of them is nice, but most of us will have carrots. If you did shredded carrots, that'd be fine too. So most of us have carrots around. You could add tomatoes, cucumber or red pepper, I always have. So a little bit of mint there. Now, I do have for us tonight the avocado. If you want to add the avocado, I've got the avocado wholly, so you could put a little bit of avocado wholly in there. Some scallions here, getting that green, that chlorophyll there. Okay, so then we're going to finish off with some sauce. Now, just kind of like burrito style, we're going to take that side, this side, and then we're going to take this, roll that up. And now we've got a wrap, and I can show you, you can actually cut it in half and show you the pretty colors that we have there. So we've got nice hoisin sauce there. We've got the hummus. It's really good flavor. So we've got the collard wrap. We've got a cruciferous there, you know, all kinds of great stuff there. So now here's the thing. The collard wrap is a great, it not only is it a carrier, it provides a lot of great fiber and nutrients. So what else can we use as a carrier? Because that's the problem with the flour tortilla. To me, the flour tortilla, yes, it hugs around and wraps everything, but it's not a carrier. It's more than a carrier. It contributes a lot of carb and not whole carb. It contributes processed carb. That's not like horrible, but it's not something I want you to have every day per se. Okay, so what are some other options? Well, we've got rice paper and seaweed. Okay, so both these are inexpensive. Now this one offers nutrition, and we're going to use that in the salmon sushi bowl. It's not as robust. The collard wrap is nice because it's pretty sturdy. I mean, it's not quite as sturdy as a flour tortilla, but it's pretty sturdy. You saw that I didn't have to be perfect about my rolling technique. So with sushi, you're not going to be able to cut it in half. It's just a little more delicate, takes a little more getting used to. To seal it, you just need water. You just need water. You just tap water, and then you pinch it like you know how when your kid has an owie and you or yourself, and you hold it. So okay. That's what you do with the seaweed. So that's how you get it sealed. I'm going to show you the rice wrapper because most people don't know the rice wrapper, and it is something you can get at Walmart and Hy-Vee. Super inexpensive, lasts forever practically. I mean, it is a real food. It's tapioca and rice and water. That's pretty much in salt maybe. Let's see, where's our ingredient list? Ingredients: rice flour, tapioca flour, water, salt. Okay, so not too many ingredients. And it's 60 calories for 2 wrappers, so 30 calories. So I call it a carrier. It doesn't really contribute nutrition, but at least it's just a carrier. It's not contributing a lot of carb. So it looks like a huge wafer, a communion wafer to me. So it's kind of like it. So, and flavorless like those two. But the cool thing is, and it doesn't have to be refrigerated. Some of the grocery stores will put it in the refrigerated section because I think they're lost and what to do with it. But all we have to do is get it a little bit moist. So you're going to watch me. For those at home, I'm just going to walk over to the sink. I think you can maybe see me a little bit. So I'm just going to run water all over one end and then all over the other end. Okay, you don't need to like sit there and soak it. Just need to get it thoroughly on both sides. I've done this at a buffet style wrap party I had, and I used a souffle dish and just filled it with water, and people could just put it in and then bring it out. That way they dunk it and come out. So you'll see it starting to get a little bit better there, and it will take a little bit, but we can go ahead and make one. Now the rice paper is a little more fragile. I probably wouldn't put hummus in it. You can try. If you're going to eat it like instantly, you might be able to do it. So normally what we do is we do tofu, baby shrimp in there is a really good thing to do. And then usually you'll dip it. Instead of having it inside, you'll dip it in something. So we're going to put these, and then we're going to put some of this here. And then some mint and that's very Asian, the mint and the basil there. We could probably put some of this. Okay, so, and it's the same sort of thing. We can just bring up the sides, flip this over, starts to stick on itself, and then roll it. And there we go. I mean, it's pretty workable. It's not super fragile, like it's not gonna like just tear over touch point. So, but it does get a little soggy with the hummus and stuff like that. You can try it. My daughter loves this. Another thing to do, actually, I was gonna bring the wrappers from home. I'm like, where are the wrappers? She's like, I used them all, Mom. I'm like, oh, okay. So, but kids and people will love to put a little bit of rice noodles in there. So it just gives it a texture. So you just have to just read the instructions. You can get them at Walmart and Hy-Vee, but they're rice noodles. Usually you cook them, soak them in hot water, take them out, make them cold, and then you put them in here. You could do pasta too. So it just adds a texture. It's not a lot, but you just add a little bit in there, add this in there, and then you can dip it in your peanut sauce. Typically an Asian sauce is going to have like lemon and garlic and soy sauce normally is what you're going to get at like an Asian place to dip your, fresh spring rolls. Yeah. So, but this is a great, I mean, you can be creative with all kinds of things that you put in here. You just got to figure out the moisture level that you like, but you could bring the rice wrappers to work and just do it at work. Just make your little roll and dip it and have it at work. So, I mean, it's super inexpensive, super versatile. It's a great carrier for the plants that we want to have more of. So, okay, so now you have lots of great ideas for that. So, okay, so let's do tofu. Well, actually, let's do the salmon sushi because we'll end on tofu because I'm going to make it as we, so that we can taste it right away. So let's do the salmon sushi. So here we go. So this is a great recipe. So, it's, let me grab the rice in here. So I made the rice ahead. So it actually works kind of best for this dish. It could be a little warm, but it's nice if it's cold. So I just use the brown rice. It's 1-to-1. So for this recipe, it's 2 cups. So you just do 1 cup of this rice and 1 cup water. Boil that for about 10-12 minutes, and it will make 2 cups. So, so the rice, what I want to do there is I want to make mock sushi rice. And sushi rice is a little sweet. I don't know if you know that, but so I've got sugar and rice vinegar in here, and I'm just going to dissolve the sugar, and then we're going to mix it in the rice. Yes, we're going to put sugar in the rice. So get it flavor and try and be a little bit authentic-ish. So, and then I have my salmon here. Now, here's the canned salmon. It's called Safe Catch. And they actually test every salmon for the mercury level. And so that's why I like this. And it's way below. Their standards are very different than the EPA standards. And they test everyone. Other fish that are good are crab prince, and there's one more. I have notes somewhere. I'll think of it. But there's 3 that are good for salmon. Now, do you notice I'm not using tuna? Do you know why I'm not using tuna? Tuna I do it once in a blue moon, even though I love tuna. Like, sushi tuna. Oof. It's high in mercury. Okay. Your bigger, older fish are going to be higher in mercury, and it's actually high. So it's one of those. Salmon is not none, but it's better. So much better. So, okay. So we're going to just put that rice vinegar and sugar and a tad of salt in there and mix that up. And I fluff this up with a fork. So I'm going to put this all in a big bowl here. I'm going to add our salmon. So we're going to get our protein here and our fish serving here. And then 2 cups of shredded carrots. And then here, for the cucumber here, just to give a little bit of the dark green look there, I did stripes with the peeler just for fun, and then chopped it up. So we've got that there. So we're going to add that in there. And then we're going to add seaweed. Okay, so how many of you had seaweed? Okay, great. Awesome. Wonderful, wonderful. So do you guys like seaweed? Okay, yes and no. There's okay. So, okay. Well, if you haven't tried seaweed, open mind, okay? Because seaweed, if you like potato chips, they are not a substitute for potato chips, but if you have munchies, this is really good substitute. So my daughter actually, I don't know where she got, but she takes one of these every day for school almost. So, and she eats it and her friends are jealous and, so it's a little messy. So, because it's actually, I don't know how they do it, but it doesn't have much fat, 1.5 grams of fat, no saturated fat, yet it feels oily. So, and it sticks to your fingers like, just like everywhere you go. So a lot of times I'll be like, kids, go outside. If you're eating that, go outside if they're trying to eat a whole thing. But my kids love, she'll eat for breakfast sometimes seaweed and rice. Okay. So, but just be open-minded. I crushed it up. I crushed up 12 of these. That's 12 of them there. They add texture. They have iodine. They have a little bit of omega-3, teeny bit, because of algae from the sea. This is minimally processed too, guys. That's the cool thing. So it does have canola oil, sesame, seaweed, canola oil, and sesame oil, sea salt. So it's minimally processed. So we're going to add that on there. It'll give us texture, color, and a teeny bit of flavor. It's not going to overpower it. So now we got this. So to really give the kind of the topping on here, we're going to add a sauce. And the sauce is 3 ingredients. It's rice vinegar. Make sure you get natural, or just make sure it doesn't say seasoned. Seasoned is code for we added salt. So make sure rice vinegar is great. Rice vinegar is your mildest vinegar. So it doesn't have that kick of the balsamic, so, and then this is nice to add. Now you can add more of this if you really like kick, okay? But we're gonna add a couple tablespoons of the sriracha, okay? Now the sad news with sriracha is I have never been able to find a smaller container of sriracha than this. So if you find, I think that's, a conspiracy that they want us to buy this huge container. So, but my kids use this a lot, so I do go through it, but at home here, we just don't. So if you find a small container, let me know how you get that. So, but we're gonna add a couple tablespoons of that, and then lemon. So then I just squeezed 1 lemon in here. So let me stir that up a little bit. But so it's got kick, and it's got some coconut aminos in there too. So it's got the saltiness of the coconut aminos with that soy sauce kind of flavor, and then the lemon adds that tang. So we just, it's all really nice. So it's a really nice combination. And when the library at Bettendorf and all the places around here used to, once upon a time, pre-COVID, offer, I think they're back to it. I think they started last year, the summer concerts on the lawn. I would bring this. That's what I bring, with a little something to drink. And I'd share this with my brother-in-law. Now, he's from Wisconsin, goes through 2 gallons of milk a week, so, but he loved it. He scarfed it down. So, it's really got nice flavor. So, and people might think the fish is chicken. So, so you'll get a taste of that. I actually made 2 batches of it. I made a batch of this because I wanted you guys to have a real good taste of this. So, it's just really nice. It's got a nice balance. We've got vegetables, we've got grain, and we've got the protein in there. It's a meal in one. Lots of flavor. So, okay. So last thing we're going to do is tofu. So I know you've been waiting for that. So let me grab a tofu cube and start talking about it. So tofu, do you know what it's made of? What the ingredients for? Let's see. I need to throw these out.
Is it soy?
It's from soybean, yes. And so here's my brick. So here's what it comes looking like. So yes, so let's read the ingredient list. The ingredient list actually is water, number 1, because that's the highest weight. Soybeans, calcium sulfate. That's it. The calcium sulfate is an enzyme to coagulate the soybeans. So the cool thing is, because it's calcium sulfate, it actually adds calcium. So there's a lot of calcium in tofu that's curdled this way. So this is curdled soy, What is kernel that you eat that's yellow or orange? Cheese. Yeah. So this is a cousin of cheese, maybe. No. I've had a gentleman in class. He's like, yeah, that's the cousin I don't like. So, but it's minimally processed. So let me open this up because I've got them already marinating for you, but I want to show you how to work with this. So, okay. So let me actually show you the whole kit and caboodle here. Let me get myself cleaned off here. So you can know how to do this at home.
Another question, where do you find that at? Produce section or?
Yes, produce section, usually in the refrigerated, it's there at Walmart. And you know, the cool thing is this whole brick is like $2 to $3. That's it. So it's very reasonable as a protein goes. So we're going to open this up and it's got the water. So I'm going to pour the water off and get the brick. Okay, so here's the brick. Typically, okay, this has got water. Remember, water is the #1 ingredient. So actually, one of the first things you want to do is get the water out so that you can saute it. Because if it has all this water, it's going to take forever to like get a crispy, you know, outer. And also, if you want to marinate it and add flavor, it's not going to really take on flavor because it's so full of water. So there are actually tofu presses. No need to buy a tofu press. Sorry. So usually what I do is I'll cut it up into the meatloaf kind of slices first, because we're usually going to use it either in cubes or meatloaf slices. So I'll cut it up to 8 there. And then, okay, here I brought this from home because we don't have any here, but I'll show you because I'm not going to actually cook this tofu for you. So usually what I'll do then is take this on the counter and then I will put over on one end all the pieces here. And sometimes I'll do 2 bricks. And then I'll fold it up there as high as I can get and then over. And then I will set a cutting board, a clean cutting board on top. And then I'll go get a bunch of dishes, clean dishes, you know, and set them on top. Why? To weigh it down, to get the water out. In a half an hour, you will, for most purposes, you'll be able to use it then. Now you could let it go several hours and you will get more out of it, but for most instructions and dishes you're making, a half an hour, this is golden. Okay, so I used to use a towel for the brick, for the whole brick years ago, for many years. And my daughter, all of a sudden I saw her doing this. I'm like, that's ingenious. That's going to take out more water quicker. So yeah, so that's what I do all the time. So let me grab it. So I've got some here. Now let's see, I do have my tofu that I already here, that I did drain the water off of here. So, okay, so I got the tofu that I drained here, and this is tofu that I marinated. So we have 2 different types of tofu going on. I have the vegetable bowl one and the cubes here, okay? And that mixture is made with some sesame oil, a little bit of Thai sauce, and let's see, what else did I have in there? I had these spread out. No, it didn't have smoked paprika. Ginger, I believe. What else was in there? Soy sauce, the coconut aminos, that was in there. So it's just a few ingredients. It wasn't too much of a marinade because it pretty much takes up all the marinade. You see, it's almost all soaked up there. So I drained off the water for a half an hour. Then I cut them into cubes and then toss them in here. And then you can just gently flip it, you know, a little bit throughout the day. You can do this overnight, you know, minimum 10 minutes is kind of pushing it because you want it to really absorb it, but you could do it. Now, this here, you can either eat it from here. I know that you're like, oh, gross. Okay, but you don't have to cook it. Okay, guys, there's nothing, it's not raw meat. Okay, this is just like soybeans. Okay, so you could technically use this. Now, there was a restaurant called Fresh Eye. It's closed down over off of 80. But they used to steam. They didn't do any frying of their tofu, and they used to steam it, just steam it. It was really light. Now, so you can eat this like this, or you can just saute it like we're going to saute the barbecue today if you want to, in cubes, and use cubes and wraps and bowls and eggs and whatever you want. Just eat it on the side. Put it in your roasted vegetables. So, but that's a nice kind of soy sauce marinade is really what that is. So now a little more about tofu too. So tofu is minimally processed. It's grayish, off-white, so it's kind of ugly. Doesn't have any flavor. It really doesn't have any flavor. The texture is like a sponge. So it's really kind of like raw meat. I mean, really think about it. If you had never seen raw meat and you were 50 years old and you saw it for the first time, raw beef, wouldn't you be like, ew, gross? You know, we've just gotten used to it. We use it all the time, and we know to cook it. We know to not eat it raw. Now, you could eat this raw, but most people don't. Now, we do add this to soups, and then it takes up the broth of the soup and the cubes and that kind of thing. A lot of times we'll use another kind. I'll talk about that in a minute in soups. But for the most part, we cook this to whatever texture we like. So we're going to saute today. So that's going to give it a light firmness on the outside. Now, if you want it firmer, then you bake it. If you want it firmer, like rock hard, then you toss it in cornstarch or arrowroot. But arrowroot, you can't ever do any dairy with it. So arrowroot works. But cornstarch is the most common one you see online, just like a tablespoon in one brick. You toss the cubes in and then you bake it. And that will be really hard. So, and it's just like meat. Like, do you like yours well done or rare, medium rare? So you just kind of find out what your texture is. So now I have for the last 30 years used tofu. I probably use tofu 3 to 7 meals a week. Okay. Now, the reason for that is my mother-in-law is Filipino. Mission, her husband is a pastor, supposed to be retired, but if you know pastors, they never retire. So they're in their 90s, and their first location as a young married couple, 50 years, no, they're 90, so that's 70 years ago, was remote Laos. Okay, helicopter you can only get to. So she's very good at making something from nothing. Okay, I've seen her make raisins from grapes. I've seen her make gluten balls, and she can make 400 spring rolls in one sitting. So she's amazing. So, but she's taught me a lot about, of course, Thai, Filipino food, and they're Seventh-day Adventist, which is all vegetarian, mostly vegan, and they're being a minister, they're pretty much vegan. So she's taught me a lot. So I had a very early education, and so all the kids have grown up with it. And I have normal kids that like Jimmy John's. I see it in the trash. So, but they will eat the tofu, and they like the tofu. It's just been part of our household. So, and they have their sauces, they use sriracha, and they have some red chili stuff that they put all over it, kind of thing. And they have their super hot ramen that they put with it and all that. So, I mean, but it's something we've grown used to. So it's being familiar with it and understanding it. Ben Franklin loved it. The Han Dynasty used to use it a lot. It's high in protein, high in fiber, high in calcium. So, okay. So now the barbecue. Real quickly, this is just a homemade barbecue sauce. So we're just going to put together some honey. About a half a cup there. And then apple cider vinegar. So that's a sweeter vinegar. The vinegar does help a little bit with the sugar. It grabs onto about 20% of the sugar and passes it through. So it's still, it does have honey, but we're putting it on the tofu. It's a marinade. So some of it won't even be in the final product. Jalapeno. So here's a pretty big jalapeno. So just half of one. And, you just need to be careful of the seeds. Okay. And just make sure, okay, I did a stupid thing. I had a Thai red chili pepper the other day. Okay. And I didn't have any gloves at home. So I did get the seeds out and washed my hands really good. But guess what? If you touch your eyes, even after you've washed your hands, it's still there. Okay. So just be careful. Okay. So you can use a spoon or a paring knife to get out the seeds and get all that out. So I've got some, it adds a nice flavor. It isn't, this jalapeno pepper is not like super hot. It's just, it's a nice flavoring. But if you get a red Thai pepper, that's pretty hot. So seasoning wise, we just got lots of good things. We've got garlic, smoked paprika, because I love the smoked paprika, chili powder. Remember chili powder? We want to get non-Tones or McCormick because they had salt in theirs. Some cumin too in there. So lots of good. That's a really good combination. If you want a kind of good combination spice, that's really good. So we're just going to make that as our barbecue. And so I could put this in a baggie and do that. Now at home, I don't use the baggies. I use the baggies here. At home, I have just, any pan, depending upon how many, if I'm doing 2 bricks or 1 brick. If I have 2 bricks and I do a 9x13 and just use that to marinate that, and I just flip it every so often in there. So the baggies, they're really nice, but with this marinade, you're going to have to toss it out. You probably can't wash it out and reuse it. So, okay. So let's go ahead and cook this. So I'll do another pan here, and my hands got honey on. So, okay, so we're just gonna spray that with non-stick here. Olive, remember, check it, make sure it's not diluted. So. And let me grab a glove. So thinking about your action steps, start thinking, I know we're at the top of the hour. So what are you going to do for next week? What sort of thing? Are you going to get some ingredients on hand? Are you going to try a recipe? Look at one of those strategies that we talked about for adding more plants. So I'm just going to shake off and just put that in there. And I'm going to cook this for everybody. So I'm just going to go ahead and pile on there. Now, because this has honey, sugar in it, it is going to caramelize. So it's going to turn blackened. So it's going to look like it's burnt. It's not. It's just caramelized sugar. So it's going to be good. So don't get scared. You're like, oh, I just ruined that. So you really can't mess this up. I've always had the tofu go. So with all my classes. So okay, so I think we've gotten everything done here. We've got the tofu, we've got the collard wraps, we've got the salmon sushi bowl, we've got the hoisin like peanut sauce there. So what are some things that you're thinking about doing?
New spices, you go through, again, I have smoked paprika, and I have plain, I'm gonna go through all of the recipes for all the spices, and then gonna get fresh spices.
Fresh spices there, okay, is one thing. So anything there from virtual? Go ahead and send me text there. Anything, what else? What other things? Yes. The vegetables on hand, great. See if it works. Some of these things you'll try them out and they won't work. Some things will. Some things you just need to adjust. Other things.
I'm gonna try some tofu.
Gonna try some tofu. There we go, Mark. Brave. I love it. Okay, I think I'm gonna throw in another pan. So I'm gonna get going here. So, and I want to cut up some more veggies so you can do the tofu wrap.